welcome to Holistically Speaking. I am Morella DeVoe, your host. Our mission with Holistically Speaking is to be the avenue through which the voices of holistic health reach you at the time you need it most. Today we're talking about energy, and we haven't talked about this topic in a little bit. My guest today is Christine Fead. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you, Morella. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's so fun to have you. I have done some of Christine's workshops, and so Christine has been a guest on the show a while back, even before
several years.
Before I even was on the show.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy to have you and have
Thank
this
you.
conversation with you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So I always like to start by kind of setting the stage for our viewers, imagining that some of them may not even know that there's anything, energy healing or energy tools of any sort.
Right.
So can you tell us a little bit about what it is you're talking about?
Well, even in physics, they're talking about the energy of things now. And it seems that physics and spirituality are starting to come together. They might use a little bit different language, but they're talking about very similar things. So, this is the type of energy that I'm talking about, is learning how to manage all the stress that we experience. Sometimes you can feel that just sitting in traffic. If you've ever been stuck in a traffic jam.
Yeah.
Or there's lots of different stressful situations that we're all dealing with, the climate change being one, and we just had, came through a very challenging winter, and people had a lot of feelings and resistance to some of the things that are happening around, and that creates a level of stress. That's the type of energy I'm talking about. And how do you let go, of all of that? Our culture isn't particularly great at letting go of things. And so this is a way of both releasing and then replenishing and beginning to understand, what your own personal energy is.
Yeah, so it's really helpful because I think that a lot of people can conceptualize stress, stress and frustration. It's like, oh, okay, so maybe this is something that would help me with that.
Yes, exactly.
What else, if we're thinking of the person who's watching at home who might benefit from the things that you are going to be sharing with us, what are some of the I used this word in the previous show. What are some of the symptoms that somebody might be experiencing and might not know that you have a tool that might help them with that?
People might have difficulty going to sleep at night, and that's one symptom. Or just feel kind of cranky, just a little agitated, or have a short fuse at work, or not able to focus as clearly as they like to be able to focus, having that level of clarity. There's so many things. Just having the peace inside that we all really crave. It's a very chaotic world we're living in right now.
Right.
You can't look at the news without realizing that there's a lot going on, and it's hard to sometimes be in the presence with that. And some people are more sensitive to those kinds of things than others. But learning how to manage that is really what we focus on. There are like a series of tools, and we begin kind of like steps of a dance. And in those series, we're basically teaching mechanics of how you would do, and it looks like a meditation.
Yeah.
So, if someone were to walk in and see me practicing these energy tools, it looks like a meditation. On the outside, I'm just sitting in a chair, don't have to be any particular breathing pattern or anything like that, but I'm sitting in a chair and I'm using my ability to imagine, my ability to close my eyes and see things in my mind's eye. And it creates a type of place for some of this tension to go.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny because I've experienced some of the tools, having done some of your series, your workshops.
Yeah.
So we called the show Practical Tools for Challenging Times.
Yes.
So what are some of these practical tools that people can learn with you?
Yes. Well, The first one that I always teach everybody, and this is what we always start with, is grounding. And no different than that third prong in a plug, that literally grounds right down into the center of the earth. It's a place to release. Some martial arts kind of practices use that, but it's a way to stabilize, to really, manage to release things that have built up in your system. Because usually it doesn't happen overnight where we'll have just a little bit of stress. We can usually manage one thing, but then you add a few more layers of things that are happening, and then it starts to build, and that might look like someone having symptoms of high blood pressure, grinding their teeth.
I was just going to ask you, so what are some symptoms of not being grounded? And high blood pressure and teeth grinding was not what I was expecting you to say.
Yeah. So these are the way it shows up in our physical body. And then on the emotional level, like I said earlier, we might be a little short-tempered, more than we would expect to be, or we notice that in a conversation with a coworker or with our child, we're saying things that we didn't really mean to, kind of blurt out. And so it's giving a moment's pause to kind of remember to breathe and let go of some of this stress energy, because it's usually stress that tends to give us the experience of feeling pressurized.
So in what you're saying, what I'm hearing and imagining what viewers are hearing is that grounding is a way to release some of this built up energy.
Yes, exactly.
So can you share with us a little bit of how you do grounding, or what that looks like?
What it looks like is I have people close their eyes and put their feet flat to start with, and just normal breathing, and they are imagining that they're sitting on a huge tree trunk. And that top of that tree trunk shaved off, and those roots go all the way down to the center of the planet. But it's got that conductivity. It's got the gravitational pull that allows things just to release. And so that's something that you can have 24/7. Nobody's going to see that. It's not, you don't have to tell anybody about what you're practicing, but it's something you can do anytime, anywhere. And it's great for people that are about to, they need to have a surgery, for example, and it gives them a way to take all that tension or nervousness and ground it off. In that example of sitting in the traffic, again, you can ground the whole car, and because sometimes people will throw energy at you, of their unhappiness about the way you're driving, or things like that. And so it's a way to just allow that grounding cord to just release that stuff.
And it's so funny because having done the workshop with you, I like to think of my grounding cord as a chute, and I almost add the sound effect like shoop, throw it down.
Exactly. And people can use whatever image, really works for them. It's not about the image so much as, the functionality of it, and having that great certainty that you can have that at any point in time.
And it is incredible how your internal experience shifts when you take whatever it is you're feeling, you're like, what, let's just dump it down the chute.
Exactly.
And you feel the shift.
Yes, exactly.
So grounding is a tool.
That's the first tool.
The first tool. So what follows?
There is another one called the center of the head. And this isn't being in your brain so much as being in what we call a sanctuary space, a place where you can feel safe and you can focus and begin to discern what are your thoughts versus other people's thoughts that you may be picking up. I'll give you an example of that so you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes when you're standing in a grocery store line and the person in front of you is staring at the chocolate candy bar and thinking, I want that candy bar, I want that candy bar, and then they walk away, And then all of a sudden you're picking up the candy bar, which you never intended to purchase, and you're laying it on the counter. You purchase it and you get home and go, what did I buy this for? I never intended to do that. That's an example of picking up someone else's thought. And so in that sanctuary space that you begin to develop, and after a while you'll be able to have that 24/7, just walking around with your eyes open. But it's a place where you can begin to start to discern these things, and it gives you a lot of peace.
Yeah. So I know you help people learn how to use these things. So how does someone start to learn to develop that?
Thank you. Well, there's a series that I teach called Energy Tools. And it's a 6-week series. So a person would come for a 2-hour class. We have a little stretch break in the middle, so you're not just sitting that whole time. And people have a chance to ask their questions and bring in examples, because first they're learning the mechanics of what to do. But we're also trying to provide everyone who comes an experience of the benefit of that tool. Then they get to take that tool for that week that they've learned, or maybe it's a couple tools, and go home and practice, because that's the proof's in the pudding, where you get to go home and really find all the ways that can be useful to them, and they come back and talk about it the next week. We have people from all walks of life that are taking these tools, teachers and psychologists and lawyers and doctors and, all sorts of folks that find these very, very helpful, particularly when you're working with people every day.
Wonderful. So we have grounding, and we have that practice of centering in your head. What follows? What's the next tool?
The next tool is called the Golden Sun, and I actually named my center after that beautiful image. It's literally replenishing oneself with brand new kind of neutral life force energy. A lot of energy healing practices kind of use that image. I used to practice Reiki all the time, and it's a way of giving yourself a bit of a healing, but once you release all these things that don't belong to you, that you didn't originate, you picked up somehow or absorbed in your energy field, then it gives you a way to replenish yourself and have some nice brand new energy to fill yourself up with, and it's your own unique brand of life force energy. So you feel both refreshed and relaxed.
So can you share with our viewers how this kind of golden sun recharge works, how you do it?
Sure. So while they're sitting in a meditation space and they're grounded and they're there in, kind of focusing in the center of your head, I have people imagine a huge gold sun above the crown of their head, about a foot. And sometimes I have them start by kind of collecting up their energies from their day, where they've been, the people they've interacted with, and the activities they've done. So it's a way to kind of bring back anything that you have dissipated throughout your day, because no one else can really use your energy, but it's the perfect fuel for your own body. And so first we gathered up, and then we let it wash through, starting at we have these 7 energy centers inside the body, so we just let them literally like wash through and fill them up, like, standing underneath a waterfall kind of thing. And letting even the body cells soak it up, and then letting it emanate out the skin into that space that is around the body. Some people call that the electromagnetic field, also known as the aura.
The aura,
There's lots of different names for that, but it's kind of your charisma, how you radiate out in the world. And filling that up with your own wonderful energy is
it's almost
refreshing.
like the daily hygiene that we all
Exactly.
should do.
Internal hygiene,
Internal hygiene.
I mean, most people wouldn't consider going around without taking a shower for long periods of time, without some consequences.
Yeah.
So this is a way of taking that internal shower to release these energies that we've picked up, just from the atmosphere. Even, if people are walking around worried about how am I going to pay my rent, how am I going to pay my mortgage, that's an energy that's being emanated out into the world, and we'll pick that up as stress.
Oh my gosh, and there's so many of those little negative thought bubbles out there.
Yeah.
So, are there other tools that you want to tell us about?
Those are the three, main ones that we start people out with, and there are ones that help people protect themselves, especially people that are particularly sensitive. We use kind of the image of a rose, and it's to help people establish a sense of where they end and the rest of the world begins. And it's used as a filter, to kind of attract that energy and ground it off. And that protection rose is particularly great when you have to communicate with a whole lot of people, throughout your day, and maybe you're a customer service person, and you're receiving a lot of complaints all day long.
Right.
So this would be the type of tool that you would have in front of you. No one can see it with their physical eyes, but it's a type of tool you can have there to receive that energy of that communication, whatever that might be. And you get to ground it off, and then you get to stay in your own energy.
When I have used that tool, I have found it so powerful. And, I've been in the space of feeling, somebody's, it could be aggression, or it could be, whatever, maybe their distress. It could be, somebody else is upset, and I'm starting to feel like I'm taking it in.
Yes.
And I have sometimes caught myself and say, like, oh my gosh, let's do a rose, It's like, quick, get the rose out there. And
sometimes we think of these after the fact.
But I have caught myself, and made that, use that exercise of creating that. To me, it's like a boundary, a protection boundary.
Yes.
And it's incredible how it shifts my experience, where I can, what's happening is still happening.
Yes.
But now I'm not affected in the same way.
It gives you a little space from it.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to point out is that sometimes people hear that like it's a wall, or they relate to it that way, and it's really not. It's, I liken it to like a pane of glass, and the sunshine is able to kind of move right through that glass, and you're still, you, and but it's just washing right through.
Yeah.
And when we build a wall like that, and some people do that, to kind of protect themselves, kind of create types of barriers. But this is a healthy boundary that, so that you're not resisting anything.
Right.
When we resist is when it really sticks. You pass by maybe a street person who's having a really hard day, and they're shouting or something like that. And of course, people are doing kind of a pushback, wanting to not be near that. And the resisting is really what becomes the downfall, because that is what actually makes that type of energy stick more. I'll give you another example. My husband's a lawyer, and he comes home sometimes and he's still sort of processing whatever he's been trying to solve that day with his clients.
Yeah.
And he had just done this kind of charged deposition. He came home and he was still a little worked up, and he gets in bed and he's starting to talk about his day. And I said to him, "Are you bringing that person into our bed?" And he said, and it startled him. It's like, what?
Yeah.
And I said, you can let go of that.
Right.
And it reminded him to actually put up a rose and let it go in and let it go.
So I want to ask you about, because kind of shifting a little bit
Sure.
from the workshops and the teaching of the tools to your energy readings, because I know you do readings as well.
Yes.
So what is that about?
Well, people will come in wanting something. You know, sometimes they don't even know what they're wanting, but they know they need some kind of assistance. Now, reading is not an advice session, so we're very careful not to tell people what to do, because to me that is an infringement of their free will choices.
Yeah.
You know, what I'm doing is kind of pointing to what's in the way, first of all, and helping them clear some of this obstacle energy. I'll give you an example of that too. My husband wanted to start his own law firm, and he just thought about it for many years and just didn't do it. He got a reading, and the person giving him the reading said, well, you have some of your father's energy in your space. Your father was afraid to do anything like that. And so he reflected on that, and then he went back and asked his mother, did Dad ever think about going out on his own and having his own business? And she said, oh yes, all the time, but he was just too afraid to do it.
Yeah.
And that gave him enough information then to release that energy and really reclaim his own power. And within a month, he had his own law practice started.
Wow. And so what does an energy reading look like?
An energy reading looks a lot like
And we have a
this.
picture.
Yeah, someone just sitting across. Now here I have my eyes open. Sometimes I have my eyes closed because I'm in meditation space. And looking at someone's aura, looking at their chakras, these are just energy centers. That aura is the emanation out around their body, and I can see the obstacles. I can see the things that are getting in that person's way and help them clear those things out. I can also see other things that might be influencing them in a way they may not be aware of. As that example pointed out, you know, my husband had some of his father, and he'd had that energy in his space for a very long time.
Right.
He didn't even, you're carrying it around for so long, you're not even aware you have that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of getting to know yourself a little better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you do these energy readings
Yes.
that are obviously very helpful, and then you also do energy
Healings, yes.
And what does that look like, and what is it about?
Right. Well, one of the things that we have at my center is an aura clearing clinic. It's a 15-minute seated energy healing. And we do that for the public the first and third Mondays of the month in the evening at 6 p.m. We have been trained to actually help people clear out this foreign energy that they've accumulated in their space. So we help them to ground. We help them to get sort of their internal energy plumbing moving.
Right.
Because, there are all sorts of ways in which sometimes that can stagnate and not really be moving the way we need it to. If we're ill, when we're lying in bed and we can't move our physical body, that affects everything, because we are a whole being.
Right.
And so it gets the energy moving, and then we fill them up with some of their own gold sun energy.
Yeah.
And people have had remarkable results from just a 15-minute healing, but we do longer ones as well if someone wants to come in for a full hour.
What are some of the results that people will share with you that they feel?
They feel lighter. They feel more themselves. Sometimes something they've been worried about, they're able to let go of that worry. We don't give a lot of information in those because it's strictly, just working the energy.
Right.
And that's where our focus is. The healer is really focused on that. But the person is really the one doing the healing themselves because they're ready to have a shift happen for themselves.
Yeah.
So we're just facilitating.
Just facilitating, which I so appreciate, because I think that I think this is maybe shifting, but there are some forms of energy healing or energy practitioners or, clairvoyance or whatever, where I do think there's a lot of interference, like what you said before, interference and free will.
Yes.
And here you're facilitating, you're teaching,
Yeah.
you're allowing for everybody to...
Everyone really truly has the answers that they need inside of them.
Yeah.
We have that deep innate wisdom that comes from the higher self.
Yeah.
It comes from the soul, if you will. And many times we're so focused on getting the body around, doing all the daily chores that we need to do to just maintain and manage, our daily lives, that we kind of forget that we actually have something much more to us than just our bodies.
Right. So I want to be sure that our viewers can find all of your wonderful workshops and services.
Sure.
And so we have a couple of pages to show you with Christine's website and a few other wonderful things. So you have some events coming up.
Yes.
Pretty soon, so April 6th.
That's this Monday.
This Monday. So a free Aura Clinic at 6 p.m. and it happens, so this Aura Clinic happens the first and third Monday of every month.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's
at 6
correct.
o'clock. And this is at your center, right?
Yes.
So we'll show viewers your website and how to find you on the next slide. But then April 21st, you have your Energy Tool Series begins, and that's at 6:30, and it's 6 Tuesdays in a row.
Correct.
So this is where people learn how to use the tools that you were starting to talk about.
Exactly.
And having been through that program, there are many other tools that are very fun. And May 9th, you're going to be doing readings from 12 to 4 p.m. And this is an event, it's a fair, the Hope Works, and this is a benefit, right, for Hope Works?
It's a benefit that we're offering 15-minute readings, so someone can get a kind of a taste of what a reading would be like there. And that Hope Works Fair is going to be a lovely event because there at Main Street Landing, they're doing a kind of a spa day where people can come and get this type of reading that's focused on either past life, spirit guide, relationship, money, or career, these kind of practical things. We also have a free raffle that we're offering that day. But they can come and it's a wellness-related theme.
Oh, wonderful.
The whole day on May 9th. So it's a lovely event, and it supports Hope Works, which is the organization that helps people who are victims of sexual violence.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So the next piece I want to show viewers is your website, how to find you, how to contact you for those wonderful workshops and readings. So Christine's website is goldensunhealing.com. Again, you'll find all of the information of her classes, energy readings, healing sessions, where she's located. And then this other website is from Michael Tamura.
He's my mentor.
And that's what I was going to say. So your mentor, he's wonderful. And he comes from time to time to Vermont, right?
He comes in September. He'll be coming September 19th and 20th this year, that weekend here in Burlington.
I don't know if he's written several books, but I have one of his books, and it's really lovely.
Yes, it's profound.
Yeah.
He has actually died a few times and come back and talks about those experiences, so that's kind of fascinating for people to learn about. The other thing I want to mention quickly is that some of these classes I'm now opening up on a more national level so that if people don't live close by, then they can
participate
over the phone with teleclasses, yes, and they can get a reading that way as well.
Well, and it's great because we're getting picked up all over the place. I know that some people are watching our show in California and Maryland and Maine, so people can find you.
So all these times are Eastern Standard or Eastern Time, and but they can tune in. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Christine, for joining me. This was so much fun. Time flew. I'm sure you learned a ton, so definitely check out Christine's website and her classes, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.